go kick some civilian ass!
Does something ever stick to your head just because of its title? Well, here is Gore, Ultimate Soldier. Oh god, this cover art is bad. The PAL one isn't any better. Gore, Ultimate Soldier, or just Gore, is a 2002 arena FPS, heavily taking cues from Unreal Tournament, Quake 3 Arena and the like. This was the debut title for its developers, 4D Rulers Inc. After Gore, they made 2 more games, Secret Service Security Breach and Patriots, A Nation Under Fire, before falling sometime prior to the early 2010s. I used to think this game was made by Ukrainian devs, but no. 4D Rulers was just some guys from Nebraska.
Nebraska!
It might be the name. It just screams Slav jank. And whenever I saw this game, it was together with a lot of other obscure FPSs from the XP era, which happens to include a lot of games from that corner of the world. There could also be a similarly named game I could have been confusing it with. Maybe Codename Outbreak or Carnivores. Anyway, what does Gore entail? It's an arena shooter, like I said earlier, but unlike other titles of its type, Quake 3 or Unreal Tournament, we actually got a proper single player campaign, and not just stitched together bot matches. And there is a story here. Something that was thought up in 15 minutes. Something so dumb that I honestly love it. Something I kept overanalyzing for the fun of it. It's got some major Saturday morning cartoon vibes. With Gore, it's the late 21st century. Society is on the brink of collapse. So, over the century, half if not most of the world population has been disseminated as resource shortages have created famine, plagues have run rampant, cities have become riddled with crime, as street gangs have completely taken over, and the deeply weakened governments of the world have merged into one unit, while one gang has come to become near dominant mob. As you can tell by my enthusiasm, the story is very late century sci-fi schlock. The framing device here is that the UMC has invented a new training technique in the form of a highly advanced simulation known as the meat machine. The game begins with you just being another soldier in training in the meat machine. The story is told through these white text on black screen scrolls, no narration at all. I know this is a budget title and all, but couldn't you have at least some illustrations or renders whipped out in like 15 minutes at the very least? So here is the first level.
Welcome to the Meat Machine. I'm Corporal Stevens, your radio dispatcher. It's my job to make sure you complete your objectives without dying, so try not to embarrass me. The path up ahead will lead you to a jumping exercise.
It's the standard obstacle course you've seen every other FPS of its era start off with. The type that's designed to be understood by someone who has never touched a video game before. So you're told how to move, how to aim, and how to shoot, and how to open doors, as if you have no idea what a use key is. Gore doesn't have a use key, by the way. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, accessibility and all that. It just turns into a pet peeve of mine when you're forced to waste 15 minutes or so, or worst case scenario, an hour, having your hand held throughout the game explaining in detail what you already knew as you've been playing shooters your whole life. So yeah, this is just another one of those, but at least you can speed through it freely. Let's just get it over with. Can't wait for the targeting range where I can get a feel for the guns and... oh...
Wait, those enemies aren't part of the simulation. Damn it, I think the system's being hacked. Be careful.
We're being invaded inside the simulation. Okay, this is actually pretty clever. Well played, Gore. Now this is a hand cannon. This might actually be more louder than firing a Desert Eagle in real life. Raw. No ear protection. We also got an assault rifle with a decent punch that has a scope.
Welcome back to the real world, soldier. Wish it was under better circumstances.
So these are the remaining countries in the world, I think, or at least the ones who are part of the UMC. America, China, Australia, Pakistan, Canada, Germany, Brazil, France, Russia, Britain. Wait, hold up. Pakistan, but no India. What are they implying here? What happened to India, Gore? Out of the meat machine and into the real world, supposedly. Mob is straight up invading the space to steal our documents. And they're really kicking my ass. This game's brutal. I'm playing on medium. Bullet sponge enemies who, if you're not careful, can drain your health in mere seconds. It's especially bad at the start as your arsenal is limited to the deagle and assault rifle, which while capable, are not ideal for crowd control or close range firefights in cramped spaces. At times, you also get AI companions to help along, mostly at the start as a lot of the game is spent. They're there as meat shields, if I'm being honest. They stick to only the assault rifle and are pretty dumb. Oftentimes, I end up accidentally shooting them, and all they respond with is and just brush it off, thankfully. I think a few times I accidentally killed them, or one time, friendly fire from them got me. They also are all the same buzz cut, brown hair, white guy. Meanwhile, the mob forces are diverse. They've got every race and woman, singular, in their ranks. Are they implying something here? Is something going on with UMC? The mob forces that you face off are just the same half a dozen models, used over and over again. They have voice lines that lean into stereotypes. Sometimes it does feel a bit
Sayonara.
but at least there's more to them than just one stock buzzcut soldier guy. Now, there's a good reason for that. Recycled multiplayer assets. But, while lacking in variety, they are distinct enough that you know which enemy is which off of sound cues or their shape. Gore actually doubles the enemy roster by doing a little cheating. Each enemy has a variant, a weak and a strong one, differentiated by what, if any, armor they are wearing. Oh fucking come on! You tease me with a tool Uzi pickup and you don't let me tool wheel the Uzis. Gore, don't do this to me!
The guy you're chasing calls himself Optic Nerve. Don't let him escape with that data.
The next few levels are chasing down the hacker, Optic Nerve, who I think is this guy, reskinned to wear purple camo pants. Well, now we are in the wide open rooftops in the night, and the game is just even more difficult. I think it wouldn't be so bad if they weren't so stingy when it came to ammo and health pickups. What doesn't help is that I'm limited to the two weakest weapons in the game here. And while they are decent enough long range, they're not good enough here. Oftentimes, you can barely tell what it was shooting at you. What the fuck killed me?
This is mob territory. If something moves, shoot it.
Finally, we get a new weapon. After like an hour being stuck with just the two basic guns. It's the shotgun. And the first time we actually got something that uses the alt fire. It gives you this energy shield. The shotgun feels weaker than it actually is. I blame it on the animation being stiff and slow. And the sound they use being just kinda But maybe the only two other guns so far being the Nidus hazards has spoiled me. This one's down on street level and it's a shocking drop in difficulty after what I had just been through. We have to catch Optic Nerve before he reaches the shopper here.
He escaped. Rendezvous with the UMC chopper headed your way.
And would you look at that? He escaped. Wow, I can't believe it.
The main entrance to Fast Cash is locked down, so you'll have to access the building from the roof. Good luck.
This mission, we're going to destroy a mob safe. Oh, now Gore decides to give me a sniper rifle. Would have been really helpful when I was on the fucking roof being fired upon with near perfect accuracy by mob goons. The rifle itself, it's nice. Don't know what to say really. It's got an alt fire that's a ricocheting beam that also sticks to whoever it hits. I think we're still in Brooklyn. Still the same dirty streets. I was gonna say that Gore feels like Kingpin until I actually booted that game up for a bit to refresh my memory, and no. I mean, I was not referring to vibes or atmosphere, just the gunplay and bullet spongy enemies with deathmatch bot-like behavior, but no. For one, it's not as brutal as Kingpin, and the enemies here aren't that extreme of bullet sponges. If anything, Gore reminds me of Sin, though not as full of hormone-laden teenage boy energy as that one. But it is still the same 90s action cartoon, but you add in people's faces getting blown off. The mob forces scream at you with the same energy as the villains in, say, G.I. Joe Extreme. They're basically like that. Just the most cartoonishly evil out there. I'm not gonna boot up Sin again just to refresh my memory. So I hope I didn't embarrass myself by committing the worst sin imaginable. Being wrong on the internet. Did they add post-modern defecation to this game? Ladders here are such a pain in the ass, which isn't unique to Gore, as it is something shooters in this era, or in general, now that I think about it, struggle with. Kid named Cold Source. God, I really love the environments here. I vibe with this game's aesthetics. Totally don't have a nostalgic bias for games with this look. There's a lot of Quake 3 engine vibes going on here. And you may think it uses that engine, but no. This uses its own proprietary amp engine. Gore was meant to be a showcase for the engine that the small team over at 4D Rulers made. They were hoping that Gore would attract all sorts of eager developers who, impressed with what AMP could do, would go out and license it for their own titles. It was gonna be the next Unreal, the next id deck, or failing that, at least the next Lift deck. But in the info, only 3 titles ended up using AMP or AMP, I don't know. All 3 from 4D Rulers. God, why is that so hard to say? No clue as to why no third parties ended up picking up AMP for their own titles. Not a single one. Unless it never went up for licensing for whatever reason. This looks good enough for that time and won't be outdated for a few years. Hell, just look at Secret Service, Security Breach. Well, ignore the lighting and shadows having a moment. But it's got the same graphical fidelity as Doom 3 and Fear. And it came out in 2003. While being an Activision value title. Or Value Soft. Doesn't mean that that game isn't complete trash though.
Mission accomplished. Make your way back to the van for extraction.
After we're done with the save, we now have to backtrack to the van that we started off at. For some reason, Gore's biggest issue is how much it just drags on and how repetitive it can get. So much padding here. It feels like it stretches itself too thin.
Keep an eye open. Those weapon crates could be anywhere.
I was wrong about UMC guys exclusively using the assault rifle. Whoops. This mission, destroy 3 crates and then go back to the start. Yay, padding. New weapon. The quad barrel shotgun. It's like they realized that the other shotgun was weak. So now they're overcompensating with this. The fucking Altfire shoots all 4 barrels at once, which is an insta-gib to all low tier enemies, and takes like half the life away from all but the highest tiers. Holy shit! This is insane! Speaking of gibbing, let's talk about the Gore in Gore Ultimate Soldier. The gibs are as much of it as you're going to see here. Disappointingly. Why did they call it Gore if the Undertale ever on that? I wanted Soldier of Fortune style dismemberment here from a title like that. Come on. False advertising. SMH my head. This game could have really used a weapon selection bar like, I don't know, Quake 3 Arena. Check it out! You can shoot glass and shards come out, but it doesn't break. More than a few times, I ended up trying to shoot through windows thinking that the bullets would go through the glass. They never gave the AI the memo though. The enemies in this game aren't very smart. Nor are your allies, honestly.
Must I remind you what happens when nuclear weapons detonate? Find that bomb and destroy it.
We have to defuse a nuke? How are we going to do that? There isn't even a use key in this game. Is this mission timed? I'm told to be as urgent as possible, but there is no timer mechanic, from what I can tell. So no worries, it's just a nuke. That might go off at any second, no worries, no worries. So I'm at the nuke. How am I supposed to disarm it? Do we just shoot it? Let me just save before I try. Just in case.
Mission accomplished.
Okay. It's time to talk about the sound in this game while we head back. On the music side, you'll be hearing the famous 433 from John Cage throughout the whole game, which is a bold choice I must say, other than the black screen deck scrolls, which have a generic ambient techno track. At the very start you hear a military march playing. And at the very end when they suddenly decide to have final boss music. Just put on some KMFDM or Fear Factory or something if you want a background score. Now, for the sound effects. The guns are devastating. The mob gooners got like 5 phrases that they scream out. And I do mean scream. When you kill them, It sounds like they straight up murdered the voice actor in the booth with how they scream. Like holy shit! The albino knife guy's psychotic screams legit filled me with dread.
I'm a knife guy!
Calm down, Gore, please.
The guy running this place calls himself Sam Jessam. Put him down for a dirt nap.
We're finally back on trail for Optic Nerve as we go into a resort town that's actually a front for mob smuggling operations, where he's hiding alongside the leader, question marks, of mob, Sam Jessam. A resort town that has a Wild West theme. I think the deathmatch map repurposing is becoming more blatant. Not that I'm complaining, as they do manage to make some solid levels out of it. New weapon, a rocket launcher. Alt fires a grenade launcher.
Wait that son of a...
Yeah, it's useful. Check out this fight with the ultimate mob gooner.
Oh hell, where's my bodyguards? Ah!
Mission accomplished. We're just...
Anticlimactic, wasn't it?
These guys are packing some serious heat, so be careful.
Yeah, they sure are packing heat. Including literally. They introduced the flamethrower here. The guy I got it from kept setting himself on fire, and probably would have possibly burned himself to death if I had let him. I did not get to keep my flamethrower though. I did not save after I got it. I didn't die to flashbangers. I'll just let this footage explain for itself.
Where we get our final weapon, the assault.
They were introduced in the level prior, but I think this is like the only way I could do it justice. Second time, it blew up. Yes, blew up. I forgot to mention this earlier because I'm fucking stupid and an idiot and dumb. But you can blow up items, which I think you may have already seen a few times. I don't know if I went out of my way to deliberately do it, but the fact that upon death, enemies drop an explosive barrel, it's very useful.
Make your way to the top floor and take Optic Nerve down.
Before I go further, I just want to point out that they snuck an actual porn on his screen. I only now just noticed it. As I was going through the footage, I censored it for obvious reasons. I actually didn't mean it when I called them cooners. Ah yes, so this is what he meant by claiming that he was in control of the meat machine. He injected a virus into it, somehow. So now I'm going back into the meat machine, which I was certain I already was in. There's something suspicious going on here. I have a feeling that whatever we are seeing of mob, it's an exaggeration. UMC propaganda. They definitely aren't the over-the-top Saturday morning cartoon villains. The UMC might themselves be a fascist junta that now serves as de facto, if not de jure, world government. And mob might not be any better.
Optic Nerve's presence has been detected on the rooftop.
I don't think I can underestimate how absolutely insane a quad barrel is. Including when you are on the receiving end. Now they're introducing damage multipliers. This late in the game. Also, the timer does not stop when you pause. Gore crashing wasn't uncommon throughout my playthrough. Man, I don't know what to say about this one level. I love how it looks aesthetically. Have an abandoned Victorian house in your game, and it's an instant win on my book. But, on the other hand, this is one of the more harder levels in the game, due to how cramped everything is.
I am in control of the meat machine now! Welcome to my world!
What the fuck, skeletons? What skeletons? What skeletons? Skeletons with chainsaws! I'm being chased by giggling skeletons with chainsaws! Gore has officially lost it! Now Gore is now bringing out the chainsaw! Gore chainsaw review. It's pretty cool. 9 out of 10.
We are picking up an insane amount of enemies in the area, but don't worry, everything will be okay. I think.
Wait, why is it a completely different guy in mission control now? Saying everything will be okay, I think. Yeah, that's very reassuring. Hey, Sam, is anyone else seriously noticing something familiar here with this ancient Egyptian temple level where you face off against the Horde?
This guy's a great tech, but he really sucks with weapons, so you'll have to cover his ass.
Now we're getting an escort mission. Please don't do this to me, Gore. I know you've been able to restrain yourself from doing this. Stop! Gore, I beg you. This is a terrible idea. Stop, Gore, stop! Mercifully, they made him immortal since they realized that the AI here is completely, hopelessly brain dead. It's now absolutely blatant that they're just burning off whatever deathmatch levels they had left. Okay, the technician still can die. They just gave him an insanely generous amount of hit points. Still good enough, but please, end this already, Gore. At this point you're running out of ideas. We got mechs now!
This area is showing some low gravity sections and a few hundred or so monsters. Optic Nerve is in the area and he doesn't look happy.
It's the Catacombs. Catacombs 3D. I'm tired. Now it's all skellies and mech suits. I think I would really appreciate this level way more if I didn't feel exhausted by Gore at this point. Getting chased by skeletons now does nothing. They're just using the meat machine as an excuse to do whatever comes to mind. This level's so frustratingly difficult. These mech guys, these guys are the worst possible thing you could be fighting here, in these tight, cramped corridors. Don't forget the ascent up a cliff to the cemetery while you're being chased down by a horde of skellies. And the mechs! Especially when your health isn't very high from earlier to begin with. I ended up just getting the mech off the cliff. So now we're at the cathedral. And why did they now decide to have background music? Is that the fucking cyber demon? Where are the health backups? I really need to recharge my health after everything prior. There's this glowing circle in the middle that very slowly heals you. All while you are completely exposed, out in the open, left vulnerable to rockets and the flamethrower. Is this all I get while going against the final boss? Gore, are you fucking insane? Finally! And it is the end for real. I think I would have completely lost it had this not been the final level. Wait, so this whole thing has been a simulation? There was no optic nerve takeover? Wow, who could have seen that coming? You know what? I don't think this was even training. I think the meat machine is a covert brainwashing program for a fascist world government. We've been playing as a soldier being indoctrinated into something. I'm not even sure if mob even really exists. Or another option is that the propaganda frames them as the only form of rebellion against the authoritarian government.
It's ma'am, not sir.
Well, the multiplayer disproves my headcanon. Right here. The moment you connect, it gives you this character select screen. The UMC actually isn't just the same generic white man with a brown buzz cut like it is in the campaign. Whatever, there's still probably just Verhoeven's Starship Troopers-esque egalitarian fascism. So the multiplayer, seeing as the campaign, it's just a bunch of stitched together deathmatch maps. How is it? Well, it's nothing compared to the greatness powered by Unreal Engine 1 that is Nerf Strike Arena, but it's good, with a lot of rough edges. The guns could do some tweaking, smooth out the animations and the like, something a hypothetical Gore 2 would have hopefully done. That's not what 4D rulers went with. There is this one fatal flaw here. The stamina mechanic. It's poorly thought out. I think what they were going with this is that it's a soft limit on what weapons a character can use. As using, say, the chain gun or rocket launcher, if you're one of these speedy lightweight characters, it gets drained real fast. I end up ignoring it subconsciously until suddenly suggestive breathing. The way it's just implemented, it just doesn't flow right with the fast-paced arena shooter game feel. And one more thing I gotta bring up. So Gore might be the earliest example of a hero shooter. Okay, how do I put this? While before, there had been a good amount of class-based multiplayer shooters. Like, literally the first Team Fortress had been around for a few years now. All the classes in those games were still just, in terms of character, just soldier dude. But with Gore, each class is its own over-the-top character with distinct personality to go along with it. Granted, it's as basic as a blurb on action figure packaging, but oh, and unfortunately, there's no offline bot support. The servers, they've long since been shut down due to them using GameSpy. But due to community efforts, you can go to GoreUltimateSoldier.com and download a patched version that does restore the online functionality. So keep in mind that the servers are always empty, so you'll need to find a group and organize a game together if you want a Gore match. Also, this isn't abandonware. 4D rulers made Gore officially free. Okay, it still is abandoned software, but you get what I mean. See, later on in 2008, a year after their final title, Gore Special Edition was put out by 4D rulers as a free download. It was an open beta that they planned on expanding with updates and the like. I think they plan to give it a premium component where you got access to extra features. You got billboards meant to serve as in-game ads, but since this never went anywhere, what you're left with is just a bunch of billboards telling you to email Joe at 4drulers.com, and potentially millions of people could see your ad here. There is one actual ad on the billboards. It's one of those shady weight loss ads that you would see everywhere on the internet back in the day. Yeah, this is basically the same game, with a few visual tweaks and changes to the sound. Most notably, the UI. They also changed up the campaign a bit, which is now renamed to Training Mode for some reason. With that, you may think that they replaced it with simple offline bot matches, but no. It still is the same campaign as in Ultimate Soldier, with mild but noticeable changes. Item and enemy placements, they've been shuffled around, with the most notable example being that the God damage power-up shows up far earlier and more frequently. Some alterations to the levels themselves, with the most notable being that a few start and end differently. There's not much to say really. Same game, but your loading screens are covered up with 40 rulers telling you to go join their forums. I honestly recommend playing Ultimate Soldier over this, as I feel some of the tweaks just make it a lesser experience as a whole. I played through most of Special Edition until giving up on that one mission where you have to babysit the technician. He now isn't buffed to be near immortal, and let me tell you something, this might be one of the most frustrating experiences I've ever had in a game. This little fucker, he only goes down in only a few shots, which won't be too bad of an issue if it weren't for the fact that there is no way to command this bozo to stay behind. And let me tell you, he Leroy Jenkins himself into any mob gooner he spots with nothing but his weak ass pistol. You have no idea how frustrating babysitting this lobotomite is. I can't believe it. 40 rulers learned nothing from Secret Service security breach, which that was nothing but painful escort missions, but at least there you could tell them to stay put. When they semi-remastered Gore, the game they made before that one, they did not do anything to make this tolerable. They may have actually made this even worse, as I don't know if this is how it was in Ultimate Soldier originally, and later on they patched it, or the community patch changed it. I think I know what they meant by training mode. This is an exercise in patience and mindfulness. This is on the same level as what monks deep in the mountains of Tibet go through. In the end, Gore Special Edition never left open beta, and 40 rulers had ceased operations by the early 2010s, with the studio head Richard Hunick moving on to a new venture. He tried out this new crowdfunding thing and launched a successful Kickstarter for a little known title known as 7 Days to Die, a game which, unlike Gore Special Edition, managed to get out of early access after years of continuous development, but that's up for debate. I do not want to get into the rabbit hole that is 7 Days to Die. It's like the last game I thought would pop up when I was looking into 40 rulers.
Time bonus! Stay out of business!
That won't do, Sharp. Try again.
This is Secret Service Security Breach, the game that 40 rulers made after Gore in 2003. Back in the 2000s, Activision had this trilogy of budget titles based around the Secret Service, and this is their second entry. The previous one, Secret Service in Harm's Way, it is a tactical shooter, like a bargain bin Rainbow Six. Security Breach instead, it's more of a basic meathead shooter. Also the only one of the 3 Secret Service games to be made by an American studio, as Activision farmed out the other 2 to their Eastern European budget title sweatshops over at the Romanian Fun Labs and the Slovakian Cauldron. Wait, they made a PS2 port for the 2008 title? Just to clear up possible misconceptions, This product is not approved, authorized, nor endorsed by the United States Secret Service. This one has you playing as a member of the Secret Service, of course, and revolves around a mafia counterfeiting scheme. Yeah, that's what they went with. Not being American, this is where I learned that the Secret Service deals in... Not being American, this is where I learned that the Secret Service deals with anti-counterfeiting operations alongside their bodyguard duties, alongside their presidential bodyguard duties. So, like you'd expect with the Secret Service moniker, this is a whole game of escort missions. The menu screen looks like fucking David D's conspiracy art. There is one thing that I gotta give this game credit for. This is quite graphically impressive for a 2003 title. Well, outside of the explosions, cause... What the fuck? Look at these damn shaders and lighting effects straight out of Fear. This low budget crusty ass game beat Monolith to the punch. They really love to show off their lighting deck to the point that you can't use a flashlight and your weapons at the same time. Wait a minute, did Doom 3 rip them off? But here, you're facing something even more terrifying than demons. The cast of Jersey Shore. My apologies to the Italian American community for what I just said. Jersey Shore is such a repulsive, offensive depiction of their culture and society, as a Serbian film is to Serbians, and it's just as insulting to use as a point of reference. This game is truly crusty. Like I'm talking prime Windows XP Gangster Edition crust here. Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach is just goofy. In this game, exclusively, you will be facing off against the Italian mob, who shout with the most over-the-top New Jersey mafioso accent imaginable. And the way they react to dying is just... The reaction to getting a shotgun blast to the face is to just scream.
Nice shot, Agent.
And then, when you die, the game plays a boxing KO bell, followed by your handler trying to motivate you to keep going in the same manner as a personal trainer trying to teach swimming to a young child.
Nice try, Sharp. I'll give you another chance. Try again, Sharp. You can do it.
But for all you Gusoke connoisseurs, I suggest that you don't play this at all. The funny Italian gooning just isn't worth it. Playing Secret Service Security Breach is a frustrating experience, and I'm not saying this lightly. I don't know what happened here. Just the whole game feel alone is fucked beyond belief. The way the shooting feels, it's so stiff and barely responsive. Every shot has the impact of a Nerf blast. I think the mafiosos have perfect hit scan aim as well. And what makes this worse is how cumbersome it is reloading. With you being locked into this slow reloading animation, unable to swap weapons nor cancel it. Like half my deaths came from just that. I died a lot, as there are so many cheap, unfair shots that will make a game designer in 80s Japan go, "What are you doing? Stop!" And all this combined with the whole game being nothing but one long string of escort missions, where you're trying to guard the dumbest motherfucker alive with no self-preservation. Which, yeah, that is the Secret Service experience nowadays. They were ahead of their time. Of course I'm talking about Mr. Frog. And to top it all off, no saving at all during the long ass levels, my favorite. And yet, I persevered through all this. I beat Secret Service Security Breach, despite the game's best efforts. Later on, they remembered that this is supposed to be the Secret Service, and now instead of just one former informant, it is a senator, later president, and his son you'll be escorting instead. But you're still facing against the cast of The Sopranos, as filtered through a Family Guy skit. For some reason, their AI now refuses to stay still if you tell them to hide in a corner. Just great. Last level has you defending the president from a full-blown assault in his vacation home. Mansion. Fuck, I don't know. This isn't just mafia business anymore. This is a full-on terrorist militia insurrection. And yes, there is a final boss fight. And it's unceremonious as it gets.
You're too late, Agent. This whole place is gonna blow sky high in 5 minutes. Good luck saving Ryder. Now kill him, boys!
And you still have to escort him to the endpoint where
Follow me. Stay there.
the end credits are supposed to trigger. Or maybe not.
Follow me.
You know what? Fuck it, why not? No way. And here's the last of the 3 games developed by 4D rulers, Patriots, A Nation Under Siege. As you can tell, this is very much a game of American socio-political culture after that certain day on September 11th, 2001, the day on which Slayer released God Hates Us All. That album was such a travesty. For some reason, this is the only one of the 3 titles from 4D that isn't abandonware. But, here's the thing, it's not on Steam, nor GOG, nor even Zoom. No, it is exclusive to Gamersgate, no relation. For those wondering what that is, it is a PC gaming storefront launched in 2006, only a few years after Steam. It still is around, which is something Directive Tribe and Desura can't say, but it's now nothing more than a glorified vendor for Steam keys. A few exclusives linger on. They got all sorts of 2000s low budget trash that I think are exclusive merely on the fact that their rights holders just forgot. Zoom Platform has classic Duke Nukem, Free from Randy's Greasy Bombs as an exclusive. Gamersgate has Patriots, A Nation Under Siege. And yes, I actually did buy it for this video. This whole section is a sunk cost fallacy.
Many people never lived to see the terror that would ignite their country that night. Those like you who survived woke to scrambled news reports.
As told by the white text and a plain black background introduction, the casually xenophobic premise here is simple.
9/11 times 100.
You are a National Guardsman in bumfuck nowhere Midwest. Fight off the terrorists, voiced by the same guy doing a racist accent. This is like 2 steps away from the Osamas in Postal 2. Don't even try to make sense of this premise. It's a shitty and less believable Homefront. Believe it or not. In terms of 9/11 exploitation, this pales in comparison to Fugitive Hunter. I mean, how do you top Tekken-style beatdown of Osama bin Laden? You can't, even if you make a better shooter. I can't speak if Patriots plays better, as I haven't tried Fugitive Hunter or, rather, America's 10 Most Wanted myself. What I can say about Patriots, A Nation Under Siege is that... Wait, no, it's it's actually called A Nation Under Fire, I just realized. Guess it feels more natural to call it Under Siege. I can say that this feels better to play than Secret Service Security Breach, which isn't saying much. Guns feel halfway decent here, like there's actual impact in your shots. The entire game is much more than just escorting recent lobotomy patients in endless corridors. But I feel somehow this still feels worse to play. It was way more exhausting to get through, with the one drop of water deep in the Sahara being that you got quick saves. Okay, there's still escort missions alongside the standard military shooter stuff. Like, you know, document scavenger hunt, destroying SAM sites, etc, etc. Like all your Call of Duty spunk goggle wheelies, you know. This came out in the same year as Modern Warfare 1 in 2007. So I don't think it's fair to compare to Modern Warfare. For one, this was made on like 1/10 of the team and resources available at most. And two, well, this is all vibes and I actually have no proof to back it up. This might have been made a few years back and shelved until 40 rulers needed just something out. A better comparison is that this feels like Walmart brand Condition Zero deleted scenes. I have another theory. 40 Rulers was developing a multiplayer military shooter title that never went through, so they just quickly salvaged whatever assets they had of that project into this, a hastily put together mess. I do mean a mess. There's like no level design, they just popped enemies all over the place. I fucking love endless head scanners in wide open spaces. I love endless hit scanners in wide open spaces. I love endless hit scanners in wide open spaces. I love endless hit scanners in wide open. On the audio side, this game is a clusterfuck as well. Sound effects just playing where they shouldn't or are too loud and... What? What's behind the pole? I don't see any Polish people here. What is it?
Behind the pole!